Hey everybody, I'm Wa.
And I'm Chris, and welcome to DocuSweeties.
We're two longtime friends who discuss the riveting and sometimes trashy world of reality TV and docuseries.
Yes, but through our own lens, which could be riveting and could be, through the, it can be also ravishing. It can be riveting, ravishing, roofishing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
All the things, but at this end of the day, hopefully mildly sweet.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yay!
Yay!
Um, Go ahead.
So today we're talking about the Jinx, the life and deaths of Robert Durst, season 2, episode 3, Saving All My Tears Until It's Official.
Yep. That's the name. That's what we're talking about. I am obsessed. I'm like knee deep in this. This is like a great episode. This is like a turning point for me in it because I obviously have seen the first whole season and that was a long time ago, and now in this season I'm still learning things, and the big thing I learned this episode is Susan Berman was a bitch.
Yeah, I like the fact that she grew up as like Las Vegas founder. Like I like the idea that her father was tough as shit and was known as the Jew. And I like that. I thought that I feel like I could see myself as Susan Berman, except for I don't know that I would have gone as far lengths to support Robert or Bobby or Bob because he ended up shooting her in the back of the head at the end of it.
Yep.
So there was some decisions made on her from her behalf where she was not as savvy and smart as I needed her to be the whole way through. Like I don't know why she didn't think he would get her. And
Right.
that's the hubris of it all.
Yep. I mean, instead of stabbing someone in the back, honey, shot her in the back. So basically,
She turned his back on him. That's crazy.
yeah.
You know this person killed people. And he has an opportunity, unless he like broke into your home and snuck up on you like Mr. Burns. That's why I think of him. I think of him as Mr. Burns.
Mm. No, I know he looks.
Smithers.
You're absolutely right. Like he's so decrepit and, anyway, but let's get into it. So basically we start and we're going to say that this is now the trial. Preliminary hearings began 2017. This trial starts in 2020 and concludes in 2021 after COVID. But we're back in LA. We go all the way back in time, Christmas 2000. We start to hear voicemails of Susan and voicemails on Susan's answering machine, because this is like, remember the 2000s, or maybe this is one of those ones where it wasn't an answering machine, but she would call and then like you could say push 2 for this person. It was a voicemail box. Okay. Her voicemail box that they had access to. Sandra from down the street calls to say that, you know what, Susan, your dog's here. Your dog's, I'm feeding your dog's here. And then, starts talking. A woman starts talking, saying that Susan at the time was desperate for money and scraping at the bottom of the barrel. And that she had made reference to saying someone was coming and that she was nervous and she was going to blow the situation wide open.
Mm-hmm.
And then another neighbor, Jeff, calls and leaves a voicemail about her back door being open.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if someone tells me that they're going to blow a situation wide open, if they're
Yeah.
not my good friend, then the truth is I don't care. I don't care. Keep me out of it. I don't want to be called witness to anything. Somebody was like, "Did she say that to you?" I'd be like, "Do you have it in a recording of it?" And if they're like, "No," then no. Then no.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like part of like my HR brain, because there's a division of HR that is investigation, and there is a division of HR where you like have to kind of realize when the boat is turning.
mm-hmm.
And I'm very quick to realize when the boat is turning. And a lot of times I have to stop myself from jumping ship. Cause girl, I will jump. That is one of my toxic traits, unfortunately, is that trauma. So I'm very quick to like be like, oh, this isn't right for me anymore. I'm out. And I have to stop myself and go, no. That is your inner child who's scared. You stay on this boat. Now I watched this episode and I was like, bitch, jump ship.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you? You're not even good at your fake job. Your real job is like, journalism. Your fake job is being some kind of like who's who and what's what. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny because we had obviously really been into this picture of her in the furs in the other episode, and then something that was like somewhat playful and somewhat fun in like New York, and then what we get in this episode is a sort of desperate, kind
Mhm.
of hungry,
Mhm.
superficial, kind of like Perez Hilton of the yesteryear kind of person. I don't know. So basically like New York PR person, I don't know, like what you would think of, I don't know, it's just that this culture of this person doesn't really exist in LA as much, in this kind of way, in this nuanced kind of way. But even though she was in LA, but she feels very New York. So Robbie, Susan's friend, is talking, and she was asked about what she was worried. Robbie was like, "Well, what are you worried about?" And then Susie said that if she told her, she would be dead.
Now, here's the truth. Who's gonna do it? Robert? Can you just? I mean, I want to know. It feels like Robert was Bob Durst is a killer because of circumstances. Like he's able to get away with it because of circumstances. Like I don't feel like this man has a network of undercover people who is like phone tapping, who he can call on a whim and be like 21st and 5th brown jacket, take care of it. Like it doesn't see unless they
Right.
tell us that he's a full-blown gangster. This feels like a one-man show. And
Yes.
like with Susan as the assistant. So if the assistant doesn't know how to doesn't have an escape plan, that's a problem. As soon as the first body came up, I would have been like, okay, I love this man. I'm down for it. However, if he turns on me, like you know what I mean, like if a person I don't know, maybe I'm just
She probably
there's
thought he never would because
that is a
she
crazy assumption, Chris. I don't think anyone is unable to do anything.
no, I know, but she thought that she had the mega thing over him. Was like, if you ever fuck me over, I can go to the police and tell him I'm the one that pretended to be, Kathy, that
Well,
I
not
called
fast
the D.
enough. Not fast enough. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like you don't
You
put
can't
your
outrun a cheetah.
yeah, you don't put your trump card, you don't put your big joker down before the little joker has been played. That is a spades reference. But you got to watch the board. And it feels like she wasn't watching the board. She thought she could get away with it. If I were her, I would have told the friend. That way, when I come up missing, you know who the fuck to say who did it.
You would have made a whole VHS in this day. It would have been a
Oh,
selfie VHS. It would like a
and
selfie video, selfie. It would have been like it'd be like VHS. You would see Wabi like,
if I go missing,
yeah, yeah,
just so you know,
yeah.
it's this person. Like this,
Hold up an awkward picture. It's like she tries to
absolutely,
zoom in on it. She's like, it's this person here.
absolutely. I would have recorded it. I would have put it in a safe box. I would have told Nick, and I wouldn't even have told Nick what happened. I would have just been like, "Hey, Nick, just you're my
Or
you're my
Stuart, Nick and Stuart. He's a
you're
lot
my
of people.
beneficiary. You're my beneficiary.
Mhm.
Should anything happen to me, please read my will immediately."
Yeah.
Like that is I just feel like it's bad. She's bad at her job. She's bad at it. And it's my theory. It's my theory with all people who like I'm not theory. It's the way I think about the fact that she ended up being broke at the end of it.
That part.
It makes me
She,
go,
she, des-
you weren't, yeah,
she deserved it.
you're not smart.
Yeah.
Truly. Because like anybody who has as much like Robert should have been paying her a monthly stipend to keep her mouth shut. And that monthly stipend should have been ferreted away so that she could fake her death and hop on a yacht somewhere. I mean, I guess I just would have done it whole differently. I'm telling you, I have a contingency plan for everything. I'm like, right now, my contingency plan is if shit goes out, I'll just go live with my parents. Okay. And then if their shit goes down, it wouldn't. But like, if their shit went down, I would have already been talked to my brother. Like, I would have already had things in place. I have life insurance. My brother's my beneficiary. Like, I'm like, okay, if
you're ready for this.
I am ready for it. So like, it just feels weird to me and I don't have danger on my back.
But she was raised by the mob. She was raised in Vegas. We don't know what she saw, what happened to her. She's only just her. She was dad was
Even more reason.
she
Even
was
more reason.
she dad died when she was 12. So let's get back. So this is what basically has happened. We remember the cast of characters. Dick DeGarian is the lead defense attorney representing Robert Durst, like the guy from the South, very Texas. And so the trial, Bob is being presented as very frail. He cuts his hair, so his like weird thing in his head is showing. They call it a stunt or a stint. I don't know what the fuck it is. Basically, it's like just a knock in his head showing.
He
So
just wants to look crazy. He wants
he
to look
looks
crazy, frail, and
crazy,
old.
sad, and
Mm-hmm.
on death's door, which he does.
Mm-hmm.
All the jurors are like able to talk to camera. A lot of them are good looking. One of them is like okay looking. That we meet the judge, Mark E. Windham, who like definitely like dyes his hair like Wayne Newton dark.
Oh my god.
And Bob, you said looks like a little frog with a neck brace.
He looks like a toad. He looks like an amphibian sitting there like
Yeah. Hi, Demi.
I mean, he's got on glasses. You know, if that like bum 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 the like the dance
Yeah, the old man. That's
the
some of the
dancing
stuff. Six Flags? Are you? I'll kill you.
the
Yeah.
dancing old man from Six Flags, except for he's
Yeah,
not dancing.
yeah.
But he's sitting there with these thick ass glasses, no hair,
I know.
looking left and looking right, like he doesn't know exactly where he's at. And I'm just like, this is hilarious. Hilarious.
Yeah. But John Lewin is like, listen, we got to go back to the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. You see, he had a first wife, Kathy Durst. And so, like, basically, he's like, before I can even tell you who killed Susan Berman, you have to understand why one would, and I'll tell you about Robert Durst. Robert Durst had this first wife. She was hot, real young, real blonde, want to be like a good doer, but she's also really bad. She's bad, I guess this is what the defense attorney, because she liked coke. By the way, one very obvious thing that a lot of people in Robert Durst's life love drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Debbie loves drugs, like that. A lot of his girlfriends and women around he has loves drugs, not like the wives of other people, but anyway, God bless. So, Kathy Durst, basically, Bob drops her off in like the Hamptons area, or like upstate New York, whatever, God bless it is, to take a train back into the city where she is doing her first set of rounds at Einstein
Medical.
Yeah, Einstein
Mhm.
Medical. And she's obviously in the school / doing her first residency, whatever that kind of thing is in your trajectory. So he's like, I did it. I dropped her off. And then of course on Monday, where she's supposed to go in, mysteriously there's a phone call to the dean. And it's Kathy being like, hey, can't come in. I'm totally fucked up. No, I keep and also just like shitting. I have like diarrhea and I can't. He's like, oh, okay. All right. Well, just we'll get someone else to do it, I guess, or whatever they have to do, because it's like unheard of to do that. It's unheard of for people to call out. It's also unheard of that if for any reason that would happen for the dean to deal with it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there'd be someone like down the line. This is like all of this going back and forth is like so crazy. So Susan carried a secret for 18 years. And when they reopened the case of Kathy, they called Susan.
And then we have the movie called All Good Things, which
Yeah.
the same producer and director of the Jinx, Jarecki, he also directed. And it looks like it had something to do with, I don't know if it's exactly based off the Robert Durst murders or Robert Durst and Kathy Durst situation, but it's similar. And it definitely has a brunette pretending to be a blonde showing up and being like, I can't, I'm sick, or calling, I can't. And so that is where the theory that it was Susan who actually called out. It wasn't Kathy. We still, and I don't know if we're going to get it later on, but where I'm at in watching this, I still don't know what's the motive for Bob to kill Kathy. We know that he was physically abusive to her. He beat her. And there was like domestic violence records to show that she was doing coke and alcohol, but like so was he. And like the truth is that when people are like, oh, this person was a cokehead, this person was that, like until we talk about them going to rehab or until we talk about them like making destructive decisions, I just assume it's recreational and they're fine. So you could tell me that a pre-med student is doing coke, and I'm like, oh, are they fine? Because people are fine when they do cocaine. People are fine. Not Chet Hanks, not certain people, but like there are other people who I would never know do cocaine and are doing cocaine. This is what I found out in my life. So until I know that there is like an actual like issue or, situation where they just don't recover from this behavior or don't stop the behavior at some point, it's like, it sounds like a partying situation. And people, and in my mind, especially rich people who don't have to like work for a living are like predisposed to doing recreational drugs because they have time and there's nothing that's going to really stop them from making money. So I don't know that I would hold that against her as something that I'm like, oh my God, Kathy was such a bad person, she did drugs. Now, the dean gets on the stand. I don't know his name, but we're going to call him the
Mhm.
dean. Now,
Mhm.
he normally is not somebody who answers phones. He's
Mhm.
actually covering for someone else. And that someone
Mhm.
else said, hey, we've got Kathy. She might call and say she's not coming in because X, Y, and Z. So he was already expecting Kathy to call out. Now, everyone's
Mhm.
like, it's crazy for a person to call out, but I think they've already identified her as someone who probably wasn't going to get her medical degree. Like, Kathy wasn't going to end the program with an MD at this point. So they were
Mm.
expecting her to call. And so when she did call, the dean is like, Kathy called, but he doesn't know if it's Kathy. And
Mhm.
so someone is like, well, did you know what Kathy even sounds like? And he's like, no. The person called and said
Late
they were Kathy. So I
A
assumed it was
woman
Kathy.
called. Yeah,
Yeah.
a woman.
Why would I not assume it's Kathy? And so now it becomes this like game where initially he's like, Kathy called. And now it's like, oh, but you don't know that it was Kathy. Now the theory of Susan Berman comes in. And he's like, well, I was told she would call. And then some woman did call. And I'm assuming it was Kathy. So he's made to look silly on the stand. And I don't think that's fair to him, even though I feel like he is silly. But he's made to look that way on the stand. And so now it becomes the prosecutor's job to prove that it wasn't Kathy.
Mhm.
And so it kind of changes. And so as this is going, Bob is still talking to people. So he goes to court, he listens to all this, and he comes home and he calls someone. He's like, hey, guess what happened in court today? It's like he's like every night giving someone an update. And I'm like, why can't that person just go to court so they can actually see what's going on? So we don't have Bob talking to people endlessly. It's like, also, is there a line for the phones? And are other inmates pissed at him?
Yeah, like, you're absolutely right. Is he like Robin Tennis where he has his own illegal phone?
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we meet Susan Berman's friend, Linda Obst. And she was, a woman that wanted to be a producer. And of course, Susan had a crazy story and also was a writer, and so she had sitting on a gold mine of her own personal story, the fact that she was raised by this mobster who like worked the Midwest and Vegas and had killed people and had gone to prison and stuff like that. So, by the way, Wa says that she looks like her dad.
She looks just like her dad. I never seen somebody look so much like their dad in my life. It was so hilarious. I was like, oh my gosh, she took that man's whole face, just took it and slapped it on herself in the womb, did it. But it's crazy because like he died when she was 12, and then her mother had like a series of nervous breakdowns. Now I want to know what that looks like. I don't know anybody who's personally had a nervous breakdown, and it's very much like a blanketed statement, and it's a statement that is often said. Like my mother used to say, like, oh, I almost had a nervous breakdown. So to me, a nervous breakdown isn't real. It's like I don't know what it looks like. I want to know I actually what I feel like is a nervous breakdown is a real old way of saying whatever the new modern thing of it is. And I need to know what the modern nomenclature is so
Well,
that
when
I
people
can
say to
better.
you, "I had a panic attack," what does that mean to you?
Oh, panic attack is when you think you're going to die, even though nothing around you is happening, but internally you feel like all your organs are shutting down and you can't. But to me, a nervous breakdown means that like you lose control of like whatever's in front of you and you can't take care of your kids. Like panic attack, you can recover from that in about an hour or like
Oh, okay.
whatever. You can have a panic attack in a day and then like go about your day once you realize once your body and your brain catch up to each other and you can talk yourself back. But like a nervous breakdown to me seems more like a bigger thing. Like when I watched Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, that mother had a nervous breakdown. She got sent away for a few months.
Mm, mhm, mhm, mhm.
So it's just like overcome with the stress of everything that's happening in your life to where you cannot function and you need to go someplace just to have a little bit of peace of mind. But even so, that still feels like a luxury. So I want to know what the real, what the like, yeah, to me, nervous breakdown is something that happens to people who like can just afford to be sent somewhere. So I want to know what it like, what the real, not the real, but what the modern terminology is for it. So she's had several of those.
Mm-hmm.
And still Susan is like, no, but my mom, she was down as shit. She was down as fuck. And if I ever have the opportunity to be a down ass bitch, I will be, because I was made and bred for this lifestyle. And so she did it. And so I'm just like, okay, it's like she's like mob wife number one. She's like a generation away from Big Ange, you know? And
She
so
had the fur.
yeah, so I'm here for it. Like I want to know, but she just doesn't feel like she's smart at all. So her father was partners with Benny Siegel, and you know she admired that entire lifestyle. She says that her mother either committed suicide or was murdered. She doesn't know, and I'm like, wow, those are two vastly different things. And usually when people like when coroners like make that determination, it's pretty clear. But again, this isn't a time like it's all of a sudden now in my mind. I'm like, oh, the '70s can't be trusted. Who knows what the fuck everybody was up to? That dean can't be trusted.
None of it. There was no internet, there was no cameras, no one saw anything. This was, like
Yes,
you could just make up anything, like
anything.
anything flew,
Mm-hmm.
like it
Mm-hmm.
was like Vegas all the time everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could act a plum fucking fool in the '70s, but by the
Yeah.
'90s, have a house, have 3 kids, and be a regular ass person.
Yeah, and nowadays be like a full boomer and be like, I hate all these fucking, like youngsters.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so basically, then we get to me again, the crux of the episode, which is there was an investigative journalist that Susan had called, and his name is Albert, and the tape exists, and it's this long conversation that Susan has with her friend, and both of it, and it reads very like vapid, like New York, like doesn't care about anything, very
Callous.
callous. Yes, thank you. Where they're talking about the murder that just happened. She's like, look, basically it's like, I mean, she died. I feel bad doing this, but like, this is basically what it's like. She's like, look, let me ask you about the story. This just happened to me. I need your take. Okay. Okay. This just happened to me. Swear to God. Swear to God. This is my friend, Robert, and his wife. Okay. Dead wife now, Kathy, but 10 days ago. Okay. Best friend. Very
Missing.
intimate.
She's not dead. She's missing. We don't know where she is,
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry. Missing. Sorry. She's missing for 10 days though. So
My best
basically,
friend. I loved her.
no, I'm everything about her. I'm obsessed. So anyway, he's worth, by the way, half a bill. Did I say that? Half a bill. He's worth half a bill. Anyway, she's very pretty, very young, very blonde, very pretty, young, dumb. She comes from a dumb Irish Catholic family, the kind of dumb Irish family where all the girls just marry firemen.
It is white American xenophobia is so interesting to me. So I need them to I need a full documentary on it. White immigrant American xenophobia. The whites who came over in the Mayflower and the, 200, 300 years after that. And then the whites that came over through Ellis Island and how they all fight each other. And I'm like, tell me more. This Jewish lady is talking about how trashy this Irish lady is because she's Irish Catholic. And it's just like dumb drunks, firemen. And like currently being a fireman is kind of admirable. It's like, so it's like, shit, what was being a fireman back in the day?
But it goes to speak. Susan is like, she wasn't one of the like dumb, she wasn't one of the smart Jewish girls, the ones that want to like get up. Susan's whole thing was to act as rich as possible, to get the richest man possible, to like wear furs and be fabulous in New York. Like that was her whole deal. She must have looked at Kathy like, what the fuck are you doing with this man? She must have hated.
Is she jealous? Does she want to be with
Yes.
Bob?
Yes. She
Oh.
doesn't want to be, yes, she wants to be with Bob. Not that he's hot at all, but he is, I think that one thing that I just have to understand this again is he is not just rich. He is upper echelon, but he is so fucking rich that he makes people rich, which is
Mm.
so wild to think of. It's like he's so rich and so powerful. The power is that he also can just bequeath careers, businesses to people, and then thus livelihoods that will sustain them in places like New York City for the rest of their and their families' lives.
Yeah,
It's
except for Susan. Except for Susan.
right. This and they're right. Okay. Because think about this. There's Susan and then there's Susie. We already met Susie. Susie's the blonde Nick's assistant that's going to get the love nest for some reason
Mhm, mhm,
for them for only 150K, which I'm like, what,
mhm.
by the way? Billy, we never asked that. I was like, where? What, New Orleans? I mean, where
Where?
does this bitch live?
Kansas?
I know, like, where
Kansas.
does this woman live? Because there's not New York. What 150K love nest anywhere, unless it's literally a nest, unless you literally are going to
In a
spend
tree.
$150,000 on a tree house.
In a tree house.
Yes, 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 made from twigs. But anyway, basically, besides that, what? But then for Susan, supposedly someone who was another smart biddy who would like run the stories by you. Let's see how it would work out. This is what you should do. This is what, and she, I think, also had that quick mind. And they talk about this was his like kind of confidant slash, like they would mull things over. Like if Robert Durst was a candidate, she was like his chief of counsel or, chief of staff or something like that. She was smart like that. I think that she liked stories like that and she liked spinning. So, not like cycling like me and Ashley, but, basically. So, this is a damning tape and it makes her look really bad. It made us, yes, of course, like up until all of this story, I didn't understand how vapid she was and understand how callous she was. And it's definitely hard to hear. And I'm not saying that we're all perfect, but it paints a picture, and it paints a better picture of why everyone was around him. And it always comes down to the thing, which is he is so fucking rich and they all wanted it. And I'm just surprised that he didn't set Susan Berman up so that she would always be there for him with the secret that she did this. But somehow he didn't. He was letting her rot in like Brentwood or I don't know, Topanga Canyon, wherever the fuck she lived in LA, in some like shitty apartment or whatever, and wasn't bequeathing her any sort of thing. And it's funny why. I wonder why he didn't make her set knowing what she knew over him,
Yeah, it's crazy. So she's on the call with this investigative journalist, and she's like going over possible scenarios that it must be, as though she's trying to solve the crime with her friend. Now, her friend, though,
Yes.
it feels like he's not savvy as to what's going on. He's just here for the tea. And she's like, it's confidential, right? This is confidential, Albert. You're a really smart guy. You're so smart. I just want to figure out a way to spin this to the public. And so basically, these are the ideas that we have. One, kidnapped. Is that plausible? No? Throw it out the window. Okay. Murdered. By who? Is that plausible? Okay. If so, now let's choose our own adventure. Is she in the river? Or is she buried in the forest? Which do you think it is? He's like, well, if she's in the river, they would have found her body. Okay, great. Not the river. Forest? So, like, just like methodically picking his brain, quote unquote, picking his brain for what might have happened to her best friend, whom she loves, who is absolute filth and trash, who is never going to graduate from medical school in her mind, in her words. But she's still reserving her feelings as to what's going on because there's still a chance that Kathy just left Bob and has moved on with her life. So Susan is like, I'm reserving my tears. I'm saving all of my love for you. I'm saving all of my tears until it's official, until we officially find out that she's dead. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm trying to come up with a plausible story. And this is where I need your help to help me wheedle it down. So basically, she uses him to come up with whatever the story must be based on all the things that he knows and his investigative journalism. He thinks that he's the best. So
diamond earrings.
Yeah. So we have the story now where she's like, she wore diamond earrings. So can we, I mean, would it just be that she was robbed and killed?
Yeah, of course. In New York.
And thrown away in the forest?
Yeah,
and
all
he's
you
like,
need is
yeah,
diamond
that's it.
earrings.
That's it. If she had diamond earrings. And I thought to myself, are diamond earrings? I mean, listen, I didn't grow up in the chain snatching 70s and 80s of New York City. I don't know what it's like to be in that part of New York City at that time frame when people were snatching change and killing people for things, and like, you had your young trans people on the street, you had all kinds of people on the street doing whatever. It was a different New York City. It was a pre-Giuliani New York City. Okay. It was an Ed Koch, New York City, or whatever his name was. And like, so it's different. So maybe this is all plausible during that time frame. It's like when having the story be that it was because of her diamond earrings makes me go, oh, it's like when people steal iPhones. People still steal iPhones? That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I guess so. Yeah, no, I guess so. Yeah, that was a ridiculous part, and I totally agree. She really was like a
An
character in that. I
accomplice.
mean,
An
yeah,
accomplice.
they really are like she was an accomplice, but we cannot play that tape because if we play that tape during the trial, everyone's gonna be like, "What a fucking bitch! I
Mm-hmm.
don't care about that bitch." Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're telling me this was a bitch?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we don't care about that bitch. Then let that bitch rot. Well, listen, if this old man did it,
It's fine.
like, yeah, I mean,
She deserved it.
yeah, this sounds like she, whatever yeah, she did something. What the
Mm-hmm.
bitch do?
Mm-hmm.
Because we hate women anyway.
Yeah, we
So
do.
like, we don't give us a reason to hate one. Yeah.
Yeah. Please, because we're ready.
Yeah, and we will justify a woman's death at any given time. So if you're telling us that she asked for it with being a
Oh,
wholehearted bitch,
yeah.
then bring the guillotine.
Bring it. Bring
Take
it.
take her
Because
whole
women are
family.
supposed to be soft, demure, loving, and not crazy. That's a man's job. So when women are that, from the rafters,
Mhm.
okay? Guillotine, public square.
Mhm. Mhm.
So after that, the prosecution says that they have a secret witness, but they don't want to say who the witness is because the witness is fearful of their life. I mean, the defense is like, I'm sorry, no, 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 no. That's not how this works. Bring that person forward. And the prosecution is like, no, 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 because we believe Robert is a known killer and that he could kill somebody. And the defense is like, this old frog with a brace neck, he's not gonna kill anybody. He's in jail. How is he gonna kill this person? And I thought the same thing too, because I was truthfully like, why doesn't Robert have killers on his payroll? Like, it really would make more sense to me if he was just like a serial killer who killed people through other people, like who was just
Paid
like
people.
paid people to do it, right?
Yeah,
That makes more
because
sense.
you're absolutely right, because think about this. He's getting drugs. Debbie's on drugs. I'll tell you that Susan, during that tape to that guy talking about the stories, Susan sounds to me out of her mind on coke. The way that she's talking like a mile ago, 10 minutes. She's like, what is that story? What is that story? Like she is, and I'm not the biggest coke ever person or whatever, but one time I took Vyvanse, so I've like taken Adderall or whatever, so I know what it's like to be on a little bit of speed, and I'm bananas on it. If you can imagine, I mean, but Susan sounds like that way. And we know that Robert Durst is into meth. And Debbie looks like she's been on everything. And we know that Susie, the other girlfriend that was the assistant of Nick, looks like she's been dealing with a lot of things. By the way, we're going to get a video of Debbie being deposed in the 2000s. And Debbie on that video, her jaw moves so hard. You're like, girl, take it down, girl. Take it down. Come on. That
Listen, go have a nap and then
you're just like,
come
oh
back.
my God, you're just like, ow, geez. But anyway, so
God.
all of this to say, Robert Durst has to be around some people that are in the thick of things.
Mm-hmm.
He has to know some people that know some people that like
Uh-huh.
Robert Durst is a billionaire, like New
Right.
York magnet. So
Mm-hmm.
he could just give $10,000 to someone
10.
and have it be done mess free without having to clean shit.
Absolutely. So it's just interesting. So secret witness is Nick, the other best friend. Now, John Lewis tells Nick, you got to go in there natural. I don't want to talk to you about anything. Just be natural. And so he then says that his defining thing is that he met up with Robert a couple of years ago and they were having dinner. And then during dinner, Bob doesn't bring up anything of it but that's how he got Nick there. Is I got something to tell you. So afterwards, Nick is like, hey, Bobby, what's going on? Like, what'd you have to say to me? And outside the restaurant, he puts his hands in his pocket. He shakes his head back and forth. He looks down at the ground. I'm making this up, but that's what I envision it being. And he's like, listen, Nick, it was her or me. I had no choice. And then walks away. Says nothing else. And Nick knows that he means Susan Berman. And so that is where we leave it. And the prosecution now has decided that John Lewin, the detective who opens cold cases, has somehow coached Nick to say that. And the transcripts show that John, in his interrogation tactics, says things over and over and over again to Nick, to where it then sounds like John is fabricating a scenario in which Nick put those series of words together. And I mean, listen, I don't believe it, because we have Nick here in real time who's like, I did speak with, I was the secret person. Yes, I know Bobby did it. But at the time, like in 2021, when the trial is going on, the prosecution is trying to show that, I mean, not the prosecution, the defense is trying to show that John Lewin now has a problem. So they really are trying to muddy the waters with who could possibly be, like, they're trying to shift blame. It's everybody but Bobby. Couldn't be this old geezer. Couldn't have been him who's doing it. And so, yeah, that's the end of this episode. But it really does beg the question of, like, why didn't Bob take care of her financially so that she would be so much more motivated to keep her mouth shut? Why was he never in a relationship with her? Especially because she thought of herself as his, like, right-hand man slash mob wife. And just like, why did he kill her? What was the motive? And I'm sure we're going to get it. Why did he kill Kathy? I'm sure we're going to get it. Also, I want to know, like, and this will be really great. Like, for some reason, it doesn't make sense to me when I don't know people's, like, lineage. If somebody were to tell me that the Durst families are Vanderbilts, then I'd be like, oh, okay, you're Morgans, you're JP Morgans. Like, I need to, like, I want to know what his lineage is. I want to know which of his kin were robber barons. Which of his kin during the Gilded Age were masters of industry, so that they are. I mean, it may not be that, but that would be so much more interesting if he was a Whitney. Oh, it's like really fun to know that Anderson Cooper is a Vanderbilt. Like, that's a fun fucking fact.
Yeah.
Or that Julia Louis-Dreyfus she's one of them too.
Yeah.
That's a fun fucking fact.
Yeah.
That these people, besides the fact that I love it when people will come for money, and I love the fact that he created his own lane. And so did Julia Louis-Dreyfus. But, like, I something about American royalty in that manner, like, always makes me go, huh, tell me more. Like, I want to know that about Durst. So I wonder if that's the case in his case. Because I love it when there's billionaires and I don't know their names. Oh, it makes me so happy, because I feel like that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Fuck a Kardashian.
Yeah, fucking, I mean, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez. I mean, that's
who cares?
No, truly no one. Okay, my loves, if you haven't yet, please follow us on the social medias. We are at DocuSweeties on Instagram, at DocuSweeties on TikTok. We are at DocuSweeties on X with the one at the end. We are also on Facebook, the DocuSweeties podcast Facebook group. If you haven't yet, please go to our YouTube and subscribe and like all our videos. Share them wherever you share such things. Have you heard of, I don't know, the internet? Just kidding. We love you, and we'll talk to you later, except for, give us $10. Well, tell us how.
You can do so at patreon.com/DocuSweeties for $10 a month. You get a live every first Monday of the month, plus other goodies. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.